quite angry and unsurprised at the developments out of the Biden administration and the democratically led Congress just screwing workers over, and let it be known that the representation of our quote unquote democracy is the representation of the interest of the billionaires and the oligarchs. You working folks? No representation for you. No pro-union president for you. No. We do not deserve good things. Well, fuck that. We over deserve good things. In fact, we are owed, we are entitled to good things. And the Democrats are insisting on standing in the way. So I want to get right into it. Also, wait, let me backpedal a little bit. Coming up in the show, I do want to talk about some propaganda, not a cop specific story per se, but it is cop specific. How can I even say that? But so far, as of the end of November, police have killed nearly 1,100 people in this country in the year 2022. Out of the years that this particular statistic has been tracked, this is a record. This is a record. So the police are killing people, us. They're killing us at a record pace, and we're going to talk about it. But I wanted to contrast that information with a piece that came out in the LA Times talking about how police settlements are making cops think twice. And I said, bull fucking shit, bull fucking shit. No, it isn't. Also, later on in the show, I do have something to say about Kanye West. And it's really more about the ways in which internalized self-hatred, internalized anti-blackness, and the wielding and the weaponizing of Christianity to go hand in hand, all along with his misogynoir, his anti-blackness, and his anti-Semitism. All these things go together, and then clearly Kanye continues to devolve as a person and continues to grow as a very dangerous individual. And the mainstreaming of of what the fuck he's saying, all this shit could have been nipped in the bud if motherfuckers gave a fuck about black women and black people in the first goddamn place and got Kanye the fuck up out of here years ago. We wouldn't even be here if people gave a fuck about black people. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, well, fuck it. We'll get to the shit when we get to it. But anyway, let's. Hey, what's going on, Imani? Hey, Imani's in here. Oh goodness, I'd be so happy to see the people. Yes, peace, modern relic. Hey, thank you, Nadia, for coming through. Craig Bardo, what a guan, bro. I need you to run up to the run up the Rock Road and go and get me some STL barbecue, shorty. I've been. I want some brisket. I want a brisket sandwich. I've had a taste, but anyway. Let me get into my show here, guys. So, of course, as you guys have all heard, this week, when the deadline was on the brink, whether or not the rail barons, the owners of the railways, and the members of 13 railroad worker unions were going to come to an agreement. Clearly, no agreement was had, despite the Biden administration allegedly trying to mediate the situation, even though it doesn't sound like they mediated a goddamn thing. They were there to try to get the unions to capitulate to what the owners want, right? To what the rail barons wanted, to what Warren Buffett and his homeboys want, right? And because the Biden administration won't say interfered, but I feel as though the rail union leadership, from a lot of stuff that I've been reading over the past couple of days, that they really relied too heavily. They had too much faith in the Democrats and specifically the Biden administration, the White House, to negotiate on behalf of their interests in good faith. And I know, well, let's hear from Joe Biden. Let's hear what the fuck Joe Biden is out here making excuses, copping pleas. And just note, even though we're going to see this clip, French President Emmanuel Macron is not in this clip, but just bear in mind that Joe Biden was making this statement from the White House while hosting his first ever state dinner, and just the clash in class allegiances, and not to say that Biden has never been on the side. He's not been on the side of working people, so we know where his class allegiances are firmly situated. But for him to always say and be, standing on his quote unquote record as a pro-union president, he's been a pro-union guy while kneecapping these railroad workers out of their ability to strike, which is their legal right, but for the Biden administration putting the press on Congress to make it illegal. So he has diminished workers' abilities to dictate for themselves the conditions in which they want to work under, while hosting French president, fellow imperialist, fellow capitalist Emmanuel Macron, as they dined on Maine lobster and woo woo woo. But let's take a look at what Joe Biden had to say.
Do the freight rail workers deserve more than 1 day of paid sick leave, like millions of Americans have? And if so, why didn't you negotiate for that when you were helping to negotiate that contract that you now want Congress to impose?
I love you guys. I negotiated a contract no one else could negotiate. The only thing that was left out was whether or not it was paid leave. I've been trying to get paid leave, not just for rail workers, for everybody. But that other team, they're called the Republicans, they voted against it. They said we couldn't do it. We're one of the few nations in the world that don't have paid leave for our workers. And so what we're doing is we can't afford to have, and by the way, in the meantime, they got a 45% increase in salary, et cetera. There's a lot of good things that happen in that. And in fact, this shuts down over the question of 1 to 5 paid, or 7 or 9, or whatever the numbers would be negotiated of paid leave days. It's going to immediately cost 750,000 jobs and cause a recession. And so what I've made it really clear is that what was negotiated was so much better than anything they ever had, that it's worth, and they all signed on to it, by the way. There are only 4 unions out of the 13 or 14 that didn't agree. So the majority at the time that I presented it, they asked me to do it, I presented it, they all signed on. But here's the story. It doesn't mean because we are going to pass this, God willing, by Friday, by the time, by the weekend, that I'm going to back off of paid leave. I made it really clear. I'm going to continue to fight for paid leave for not only rail workers, but for all American workers. I imagine it may surprise some of our European friends that there's no paid leave in the United States of America. We're one of the few major countries in the world that don't have it. And it's about time. And so that's the context in which this all took place. And labor signed on to it as well, as you recall, initially. There were 4 unions out of the, I think, 13 or 14 that didn't like it. But I think we're going to get it done, but not within this agreement. Not within this agreement. We're going to avoid the rail strike, keep the rails running, keep things moving, and I'm going to go back and we're going to get paid leave, not just for rail workers, but for all workers.
Oh, you're going to get paid sick leave for workers as you lose control of Congress starting in January. Is that right, Joey? Is that how that works? Per the reporting of Lauren Kaori Gurley, this is as of yesterday. Update: the Senate just voted 80-15 to force a contract between rail workers and unions without paid sick days. The contract will now be sent to Biden's desk, and he is expected to sign. So Joe Biden is bragging that could nobody else get this done? Could nobody else negotiate a contract with no paid sick days? Joe, that's not some shit that you brag about, my guy. And then for him to make these lofty promises in the future. Hey, guys, maybe not now, but in the future, American workers will get paid sick leave. Okay. And he said, I'm sure Europeans are shocked to discover. Hey, maybe Europeans might be shocked to discover that you've been in the halls of power for the past 50 years. So under your watch, American workers have not gained paid sick leave. Again, this man it lives on a separate plane, because I'm confused as to why he is proud of this, why he is toting this as a victory. Well, I guess it is a victory. As our good sis, the erudite Jacqueline Luqman, said that Joe Biden is committed to upholding the empire. So if the rail strike is averted, empire upheld, okay? And the labor has been coming out extremely disappointed in Joe Biden. Do I have that tweet up there? Well, maybe I didn't put it up. My bad. But there was a tweet posted by the railroad union workers. By the way, let me say this, saying that this is part of Joe Biden's legacy, that there's no way that he could ever again sell himself to union membership as somebody that is pro union, pro worker, and pro labor, because this is the absolute definition of turning your back on workers and on organized labor. And it just really lets everybody know that both Democrats and Republicans serve the same masters. Okay. And let me step back here for a second. I want to go back to the Senate vote. Okay. Because only four Democratic senators voted against that. Okay. The Democratic senators voting not to break the railroad strike: Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, John Hickenlooper, and Kirsten Gillibrand. Four Democrats in the Senate. Where was Cory Booker? where were my senators? Chris Van Hollen and that other punk ass nigga. Oh, Ben Cardin. Okay, I see. Well, I already knew. Don't get me wrong. I knew what kind of time they was on, but it's just interesting to see that at least Bernie and Liz Warren were not willing to risk their street cred on this particular issue. Like Bernie said, no, nigga, y'all not going to be able to come back and say. Bernie has made definitely some questionable votes. Bernie has stood his ground and held his nuts on some progressive things, and forced some changes into some legislation over the course of his congressional career. And Bernie said, nope, y'all not to die. This ain't gonna be part of my legacy, says Bernie Sanders. But moving on, even when we talk about what happened in the House with the squad just falling down on the job, goodness gracious, you guys, I'm telling you, I continue to be underwhelmed by electoral politics. And I think, again, more so on a local level, they probably have more of an impact. Who sits on your city council? Who sits on your school board? Who sits on your board of estimates? Or and all that shit. That shit is, important. Not to say that the federal stuff is not important, but you cannot expect so-called progressive people, so-called democratic socialists, to go to Washington and themselves not be corrupted by the smothering corruption of the system. Okay. I don't know why AOC voted against workers. I do not know why Cory Bush. I expected that shit from Cory Booker, but goddamn, Cory Bush. I hate to see you go out sad like that, sis. Very, very sad. So where do the railroad workers go from here? So the railroad workers, I'm sorry, I do have a difficulty saying railroad quickly and sequentially, but the railroad workers say that they're not done. They are going to push the Biden administration, apparently, to approve 56 paid sick leave days via executive order, which I think is aspirational. I'm not sure if Joe Biden is going to go for something like this. This is per Intercept reporter Ryan Grimm via Twitter. It says, union source tells me that their next push will be to demand Biden include railway workers in the executive order that mandates 56 hours of paid sick leave. 56 hours of paid sick leave. So that's still 7 days. I hate the fact that we have reached this point in the second Gilded Age in which the income and wealth inequality is so far, it's a chasm, the Grand Canyon wide, many Grand Canyons wide, actually, that people are only able to ask for, not even demand, not even insist, but ask for 7 sick days in an entire year. And you don't have to wonder why, like, young adult Gen Zers and maybe younger millennials, why these people have become so disenfranchised with American work culture, with corporate culture, with office culture. Part of the reason why the gig economy does well, I suppose, and where a lot of people are participating in it. I won't say that the gig economy does well. There's a lot of big holes in the gig economy. But people are are more determined. If I'm going to work, if I'm going to struggle, if I'm going to sacrifice, it's not going to be with a specific boss, you know, breathing down my neck, leaning over my shoulder, trying to make sure that I get all my widgets counted in this 8 hours, right? People are trying to take alternative methods, and people are becoming. I mean, again, I'm loath to praise entrepreneurial culture. I am not LLC Twitter. I do not be like, well, if you get your LLC, then that's how you build wealth. No, that's how you pay a different kind of tax. I don't know about building wealth. Um, but I understand why people are not going the conventional way of working, because what is the point? You end up sacrificing so much of your personal life and hours that you could be spending either enriching and learning and having personal experiences out there in the world, or spending time raising your family, or taking care of relatives, or just doing whatever the fuck you want without having to be punching a clock Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 10 to 6. You know, like people are making a different choice now. And the ruling class is aware of that. The rise of organization and the amount of unionization that has happened, definitely 2022, but definitely starting in 2020, when things really started to get rolling, and that has picked up so much momentum. I know that the ruling class is looking, but that is why they have motherfuckers like Joe Biden in Congress to make sure that the workers stay in their place, and that they should be appreciative that Joe Biden negotiated for them no sick days. They got a nice big bump in salary, 24% over a few years. That sounds all well and good. But if you're experiencing a heart attack and you call out of work and they are docking your check because you're fucking sick, that is not a good balance. And I want to reframe the whole work-life balance. Fuck that. I am here to live first, not work, okay? My work is not the first thing that I'm here to do. I know capitalism says so, but I'm here to let you know that capitalism can kiss my ass, okay, dog? You run me, capitalism, but I get to say no in some shit. And that is the place I say no. So, another reason people are asking, if you could pop up the NY Mag article there, Will, why American railroads refuse to give their workers paid leave. And it has everything to do with them trying to do what capitalism does, and that is exploit the workers at every single turn. So the long and the short of it is, hold on, let me pull up the tab because I did have it pulled up. And what this comes down to for the railroad owners, okay, by the way, who have made record profits this year and for the past couple of years, they have been doing really well. So, what it comes down to, according to this piece in NY Mag, which is pretty informative, it talks about the reason these rail owners will not give the demands to the union workers has to do with something called precise scheduled railroading, and it's called PSR for short. And from the article, it says it's an operational strategy that aims to minimize the ratio between railroads' operating costs and their revenues through various cost cutting measures and ostensibly efficiency increasing measures. The basic idea is to transport more freight using fewer workers and rail cars. So, one way to do this is to make trains longer. A single 100-car train requires less track space than two 50-car ones, since you need to maintain some fewer crew members to run two medium trains, right? So basically, wait, yeah. Another way to get more with less is streamlining scheduling so that trains are not running at full capacity as often as possible. All this has worked out poorly for rail workers writ large. Over the past 6 years, America's freight carriers have shed 30% of their employees. And to compensate for this loss, staffing, remaining workers must tolerate irregular schedules and little time off, since the railroads do not have much spare labor capacity left. And that to me is a very crucial point. And to me, that can be used as a point of power and leverage that these unions have. So hold on, backing up to what Joe Biden said when he said that labor approved this fucked up contract. Labor approved their own abdication of collective bargaining. You fucking asshole. Yes, labor approved it. You fucking dickhead. No. 4 out of the 13 rail unions rejected this. And what they seem to fail to mention is that the 4 that rejected it are the 4 largest with the most members. And the other 9 unions that were in favor of the contract said that they would stand in solidarity with their union brothers and sisters if they chose to reject this contract. So, with Joe Biden expected to sign this bill into law over the weekend, what are the railroad workers' options? Well, a lot of people are saying they should go ahead and strike. I am people. It is me. I am a lot of people. I am a lot of people. I have said, and I'm sure lots of others have said that these workers should strike. And truthfully, people have to consider their own personal situation, etc. But one thing that these railroad workers should not be considering is any sort of external pressures on them from politicians, from regular fucking dickhead ass Americans out here concerned about Christmas and holidays and shit. What they should be doing is shutting down this goddamn economy. They should not worry about the consequences and ramifications on the economy, because what they need to do is show how important that they actually are. And like a lot of different industries throughout the pandemic, where the mainstream was categorizing people as essential workers, and oh, look at the essential workers, look at the nurses, look at the grocery store cashiers, look at the fucking rail workers, look at these essential workers, oh my god, they're so awesome, right? Well, how come they weren't awesomely rewarded with better compensation? They weren't awesomely rewarded with healthcare coverage to match the level of risk that these essential workers were taking on throughout the pandemic. And that's one point that the rail workers also echo, is that don't call us fucking essential workers and then treat us as if we are absolutely not essential, not making any provisions for us to have time off, particularly in times of sickness, because we're still in a pandemic, in case anybody forgot. But that part about all of this is additionally insulting, I think. Like, if you cannot praise essential workers, like, don't praise me, don't tell me this is not to y'all, but just to anybody, like don't tell me that you think I'm good and you think I'm great and you're not going to toss a couple coins my way. And I'm saying that from the perspective of being an employee to an employer. Like, don't tell me how good I am or how good a job that you think I'm doing if you're not willing to add some zeros to the end of my check. Like, I don't want your appreciation. I want your compensation. Okay. Your thank you don't mean shit to me if I cannot pay a bill with the goddamn thank you, or I cannot get some Pat McGrath eyeshadow. I cannot get no Pat McGrath with your thank yous. I need your money. Get the fuck out my face. So what do Democrats actually, hold on, what do we do with this information? Like, not to say that anybody that watches this show absolutely had no faith in Joe Biden from day, right? So I already know, I'm preaching to the choir here, but like, what do other working people do, particularly those in the Democratic base? Because I don't see Republicans going, they do sometimes, but going out to labor strongholds and trying to curry the labor vote. Maybe some places in Ohio, like, where they build cars and fucking John Deere tractors and shit. Maybe they do that a little bit, but then, the Republicans don't go to Detroit to rally for UAW votes per se. Maybe I have that wrong. But if you are a rank and file union member or someone that supports the labor movement, and you're seeing this from Joe Biden, right? Because you already know that whoever the Republican candidate is for president in 2024, they're not going to even pretend to care about labor. And that is their own internal class issue that, the white folks need to deal with amongst themselves when it comes to that shit. But I just don't see how the Biden administration, I don't see the squad, I just don't see how y'all come back from this. Like, this is a betrayal. Okay, this is complete a knife in the back of some of the most reliable Democratic voters out there. And this is not going to go unnoticed. And should the railway workers decide to wage an illegal strike, which again, I hope they do, because I think America needs to be taught a lesson. The capitalists need to be taught a lesson. Warren Buffett only has $8 billion because workers generated that wealth for him. Warren Buffett is not smart. I don't get it. Niggas spending $65 million or $1,000 to go have lunch with Warren Buffett. The fuck? Nigga was born white, okay? You don't understand what a leg up that is. It does not necessarily require smarts, but it does require strategy and skill. And for Warren Buffett to be at the level of wealth that he is, it requires a lot of greed and a lot of inconsideration and apathy and indifference towards the people that work for him. And it's not like they don't have the money. I saw an article that pointed out the fact that Warren Buffett very casually slid $750 million, $750 million into his private foundation. I think what the railway workers were asking for might have cost, I think, like $300 million. The amount of sick leave that they were initially asking for, the 14 or 15 paid days off, might have cost $300 million, which, by the way, Warren just got laying around his fucking house. He got $300 million in his couch. Okay, dog, $300 million fell out his pocket when he fell asleep watching the ball game on Thursday. You understand? Like, I don't want to hear that shit from none of these people. If you could pop up the socialist alternative piece for me there, Will, because is this what's the right one? The good sis Shama Sawant, the Seattle City Council member, the only socialist member of the Seattle City Council, in her piece, she laid into the squad, dog. She laid in to these Bamas. She said in the first year after Biden took office, with the Democrats in control of all three branches of government, the squad members abandoned the first two of their commitments. First, refusing to force the vote on Medicare for all, and then rejecting any sort of fight for a $15 minimum wage. Now, the third of these three promises, she talked in the opening about how the squad made all these promises, AOC and the like. Now, the third of these three promises has been utterly shattered, as all but one of the squad members crossed the picket line and voted with the majority of both Democrats and Republicans in Congress to break the railroad workers' strike, cutting off those workers' right to legally withdraw their labor. In doing so, they took a clear side with the billionaire railroad bosses against the rail workers, who have suffered intolerable conditions over decades. And this is a profound betrayal of working class people. And she talked about she went in to talk about the railroad workers, how they have been negotiating for these new concessions for a number of years. And then for the squad, here, pick up where Sister Shama came through. And she said the squad and Congressional Progressive Caucus. Oh my God, did you guys see? Anyway, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the day that the vote went to the House, they put out a statement. They put out a statement saying they was going to stand with the Biden plan. Oh my God, get these niggas out of here. Let me pick it up. The squad and Congressional Progressive Caucus, including Representative Pramila Jayapal, attempted to give themselves left cover by voting for the second bill that included the rail workers' key demand of paid sick days, right? Oh, that's right. Then they tried to use that little congressional slick thing. Paid sick leave alongside the primary legislation to kill the strike. The sleight of hand should fool no one, as it was widely recognized that the sick leave bill would face sudden death in the Senate, which it did the following day. and that all of that would be and all that would remain would be a broken strike. And that's the other thing. I don't know who to send to Congress. Like, who the fuck do we exactly send to Congress? Maybe we need to ask Sister Cynthia McKinney, would she consider another congressional run again? Because there's no allies for working people. I thought I had screen grabbed Rashida Tlaib's tweets, because Rashida, maybe I just favorited them. Rashida, again, being the only member of the squad to vote against breaking the strike, she put up some tweets, but she was blaming the Republicans and the GOP. And you know what? And that's fine and that's cute. You could blame them, but they're the usual suspects. You already know. The Republicans don't say that they stand with union members. They don't stand with the rank and file. They made that very clear. So to chastise the Republicans, I don't know, but it be your own niggas, Rashida. It be your own niggas, Rashida. It be your own Democratic members. It be your own niggas. So watch Biden sign this bill into law over the weekend. And if the rail workers elect to do an illegal strike, we need to do what we can do to, number one, make sure that you and yours will be okay should there be any major interruptions with freight service in this country. The economy will be upended, and as a result, we have to understand that before it happens and do what we can to either organize your communities, organize your family, organize and make sure that the vulnerable people that you are connected to, and perhaps even more importantly, the vulnerable people that you may not even be connected to, those people who may be isolated or for anything, people who rely like on grocery deliveries and pharmaceutical deliveries, these people will probably be the greatest impacted first. So maybe that's something we need to do. Figure out which mutual aid organizations are maybe anticipating this, or those that are already kind of providing needs for our vulnerable folks out here, and make sure that we got all our shit together, y'all. So let's not act silly when the rail workers do a wildcat strike. The Bama's going to get their Friday paycheck. Maybe not this Friday, maybe next Friday or 2 Fridays from now. They're going to get their Friday paycheck, and they're going to say, "Deuces, bitch, I'm not doing this." And that's going to be a wrap, because guess what? You cannot just find a railroad engineer off the street. Okay, like they are not they're not sitting around at the Home Depot parking lot. Like, you cannot find Bamas to drive a train and maintain railways very easily. So I think the power truly lies in the hands of the rail workers, but most importantly, we have to stand with them in solidarity and also defend them, because the majority of America is not going to fucking understand this shit. Majority of America, oddly, also has some internalized hate against poor people and working people themselves. They think they are the capitalists themselves, that they also participate equally in capitalism with Warren Buffett and fucking Jeff Bezos. So most of Americans, we know, are very ignorant in that way. So try to change minds as much as you can. If anybody's talking that shit in your spaces or in your circles, oh, the workers are greedy, they gonna shut everything down. No, fuck that. Fuck that. They deserve that shit, and we will help them get it. Take a quick